Actually, thank you for inviting me here to talk once again about some of the things that are happening in our community in the South Bronx, in Mychal, in Port Morris, right, where Oslo is living. We're facing in our community, we're facing some things in our community that have been going on for decades. It's been a cycle of supposed economic development to create jobs and quality of life, increasing that by way of giving money to developers to build the largest significant maritime industrial area on the South Bronx waterfront, bringing thousands of diesel trucks to our community. We have the largest SMEA in the entire New York City area, some 850 acres leading from Mount Haven, Port Morris, all the way to Hunts Point, where we have waste transfer stations, fossil fuel power plants, heavy diesel truck intensive businesses. We even in Hunts Point have the Hunts Point Market. All of the, the idea of bringing food to New York City, but also trying to bring food to food desert. And to the poorest congressional district in the United States, where we have unemployment rates 3 times the national average. 1 in 5 of our children have asthma, and I think the poverty rate is right around 49% for our children. So all the economic development that was supposed to be coming to our community, while EDC and IDA were pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into the South Bronx Peninsula to create this large SMEA, nothing has really come from it. We still are the poorest congressional district. We have even worse air quality, and we are still a food desert. This gives you an idea here of some of the industrial facilities, which is in the blue dots. The red is talking about the asthma hospitalization rates in relationship to where the industrial facilities are lying. This is our Mount Haven Peninsula, Port Morris and Mount Haven. This is Hunts Point. Up here is Riverdale. You see no blue dots, and you see a really low asthma hospitalization rate. You see everything that comes with particulate matter PM 2.5, which is in diesel truck emissions, and other carcinogens. And then you will see what South Bronx residents are suffering from. Some of the causes of the heavy diesel truck intensive businesses and the highways that encircle our community, thanks to Robert Moses. So we have 3 highways, we have 5 bridges, and we have the largest significant maritime industrial area in the city, in the poorest congressional district in the United States. Here is the SMEA that I was telling you about from Hunts Point, leading all the way through Port Morris. This is Mount Haven. Our peninsula has no direct access to the waters that surrounds us. This is our only park. And per New York State Parks, it shows that our community has the lowest quantity of green space per capita in any other community in New York City, even though we're showing all the industrial burdens. And so is Hunts Point. No direct access. So this is FEMA flood map after Sandy, showing all the industrial facilities lining our waterfront are in heavy flood zones, and which actually is threatening our community. After Sandy, some lessons were learned in some communities that were really affected. They're creating the seawalls, right? They're doing the big U in Lower Manhattan around Wall Street. But because our community was hit during low tide, and it's the reverse effect to what happened downtown, we didn't see a lot of water. But we did see 4.5 feet of water reach our shores here and flood our streets. So an example of one of these types of deals that were supposed to bring economic development and food to our community is the relocation of Fresh Direct. You all know about Fresh Direct? Anyone heard about Fresh Direct? It was a fight we waged since 2012, where our local elected officials, our current borough president, then Mayor Bloomberg, current Governor Cuomo, sought to give Fresh Direct $150 million to move their facility from Long Island City, Queens to the South Bronx waterfront, bringing more of that heavy diesel truck intensive type use, 1,000 diesel trucks per day, or truck trips per day, in our community, which is considered Asthma Alley. So it's like more of the same, right? More dumping. Let me back up a little bit. This land that's here is public land, owned by the state of New York, but there's no public access and no public benefit. So on top of all the things that were dumped here, now we're going to dump Fresh Direct to the site and build a facility that was scheduled to be 400,000 square feet, now it's 800,000 square feet. Here's Randall's Island, and here are the bridges that are going in contact with our South Bronx community. We have the largest, actually the largest concentration of public housing in the city. We have 5 housing developments in a community of 90,000 people, again, have no access to this peninsula because of all the heavy, this is a waste transfer station, New York Post and Wall Street Journal, fossil fuel power plant here. We had 4 put in our community when Governor Pataki about 15 years ago put 10 around the state. He put 4 in our South Bronx community. So this public land, again, is being used for industrial sightings with all this dream of creating food access to people of color in this poor community. When we know what Fresh Direct is not offering this in our community. This is something we would like to have. Like you were saying in Red Hook, we want to create an urban farm in this area. Since we're food desert, why not create something that's viable, create jobs, and also create a permeable surfaces for protection of flood zone and creating a resilient waterfront. So this is our waterfront plan that we created in response to all of the dumping of industrial facilities and lack of recreational space, which is leading to some of the highest levels of obesity and diabetes in the city, as well as asthma. And it's been well documented that bringing in life quality of life enhancements like urban farms and green esplanades to our community would increase our quality of life. So as a response to what has not been planned, there is no mitigation plan for our flood zone, which the flood waters will go here. Right here is 100 million barrels of home heating oil that has no flood mitigation plan, along with the fossil fuel power plants, along with the waste transfer stations, along with the New York Post and Wall Street Journal, the new 800,000 square foot facility of Fresh Direct, a 5,000 ton per day waste transfer station. So, they said we're a food desert, and in response to that, they're going to give us this. Is this geared to the South Bronx? No. Fresh Direct was not meant for us to better our quality of life. It was only to gear towards folks with higher economic opportunities to get their delivery of their food by pushing a button and going to their door. So what are we receiving? Again, 1,000 daily diesel truck trips per day from Fresh Direct. This is from their own admission for their $150 million tax subsidy to relocate. This is their traffic map showing how the trucks will go through our community, right by our schools, right by our public housing. This is after Sandy. This is the land they were going to actually build upon. It was about 40 acres. How that would have been a great benefit to create a farm. Some more green space, which we don't have. This green train here is leading to that waste transfer station in the distance. Again, 5,000 ton per day waste transfer station, which handles all of the Bronx waste in our peninsula and 20% of Manhattan's waste until the marine transfer station on 91st Street comes online. So after Sandy and Long Island City, of course, they had a lot of flooding. These are damaged trucks Fresh Direct brought and placed on our waterfront. We protested that. Got the media involved, they removed them within 3 days, but this is the kind of way we knew they were going to do it. And this is a really good example of how they wanted to dump on our community. Give me a 2-minute check when I don't want to talk about our time. Yeah. But this, in response to that, we mobilized our community and we started protesting. We actually mobilized our community, brought in a lot of awareness. This is one of our community gardens. Because of the lack of recreational space and access to green, so sustainable agriculture and quality food, we created numerous community gardens in our community. And where you see everything that's been put in these spaces are being created by the community. This is again that same area here, but then of course it's in Blossom where we go around our cherry blossom circle and have community meetings, and talk about how we're going to create our own solutions. This is back in 2014, the Climate March. We did like a replication of a Fresh Direct truck going down the street. So we have had to activate our community in response to the continued assault on this community of color that's poor, knowing that there's a real serious health consequence or epidemic of asthma in our community. We're 1 in, we think, 4 now with asthma. This campaign was launched in 2012. Since then, Fresh Direct actually won. We actually did a lawsuit, boycott and lawsuit against Fresh Direct. The state of New York, the city of New York, because they're going to rely on an environmental impact statement that was 21 years old to say it was okay to move to our community. Even though the population changed and also the science around what are the carcinogens in diesel truck emissions. The court said that they were okay to do that, to rely on such an low impact statement. So what we did, we kept fighting, and what we now have created in response to how public land has been used to oppress our community, land that should be given providing public benefits, we created a community land trust. A community land trust that has coupled with many different organizations, Farmers Market, Brook Park, a community garden, another children orchestra, immigrant rights, alternatives and conservation, and health organizations come up with a land trust trying. What we're trying to do is take over publicly owned spaces by acquiring or stewarding. That's me leaning up against that building right there. Publicly owned building that's vacant. We thought that we can create, and what we are creating, we just finished the feasibility study of creating a health, education, and the arts building. We call it Arts. So we can to create our own solutions around health, health problems, educational outcomes. We actually have the worst performing school district in the city. I'm sorry to give you guys all this negativity in terms of the negative things that are affecting our community, but part of creating the change is to actually identify what's wrong and why is it wrong. It's been that cycle of putting money into entities that are not bringing solutions. It's top down rather than ground up. And we're creating ground up by doing visioning sessions and talking about what are our possibilities for not only this space, but other public spaces that are still available on our peninsula, where we can, and we do the waterfront tours, where we looking at spaces, we create a waterfront plan to actually activate these different sites that are underutilized, that we can do urban farms, where we can do access points, where we can create the kind of awareness around what should be the solutions for a community like ours, as an example. Since then, we have the multiple collaborations with different entities, creating renderings around what the spaces can look like. And now we're working with Design Trust for Public Space, where we're doing a Power in Place project around creating an asset map that identifies those local community assets that we can actually activate to create our own solutions. Sorry for that, actually. It's all dumping into the map, so we're dumping all the assets into the map. And that's it.